Well, folks, Hearthstone's next patch is almost here, and we got this handy preview blog today covering some of the things to expect, and that includes a new expansion announcement, some really nice changes for returning players. There's some really cool stuff here. Actually, one of the best changes I think I've seen in Hearthstone in a while. Some new Battlegrounds monetization I'm not quite so sure about, but let's get into this with the patch 24.6 preview. It is nearly upon us, and it's a big one. To cram it all in, we're giving a sneak peek at some of the new features and more to look out for coming soon. So first and foremost, the Twitch drops for announcement stream kicks off on November 1st at 10 a.m. Pacific time on our announcement stream, where we'll reveal Hearthstone's next expansion and more. Tune into Twitch Play Hearthstone for 15 minutes, and you'll get a Murder at Castle Nathria pack. But make sure to show up on time because you'll want to watch the whole show if you haven't done so already. Be sure to link your Battle.net Twitch account, etc. to be eligible for drops. Now, there's a couple actual interesting things here to take away from this. It may not sound like much. An expansion announcement, we get those all the time. Yes. I actually think a 30-minute announcement is longer than normal. It feels to me like there's extra stuff here. Of course, the biggest speculation being new class, Death Knight. A lot of people think that's going to get revealed, myself included, but we don't typically need 30 minutes for just an expansion. The kind of like trailer video, and then there's usually like a little 10-minute explainer video max showcasing some of the keywords and cards, and that's usually all we get. So you wouldn't expect more than 15 minutes typically for an expansion announcement. This one's 30 minutes. That makes me think there's extra stuff to get through. So that's pretty exciting. It's also been teased this expansion is going to be bigger than normal. So whether that's Death Knight or some other thing we're not expecting, clearly to me, it feels like some big stuff is there to be discussed if we're talking about 30 minutes. Now, on top of that, another thing to keep in mind is that typically for the .6 expansions, those are when the pre-orders go live for the next expansion. And that means two things. Of course, you can pre-order your packs and see some of the new card reveals and stuff, but also typically that means a new card is introduced into the game early, where everybody just logs in and get it. So think of Prince Renathal. Most recently, we got him basically a month early before the expansion. I don't have any reason to suspect that will change. I think we'll probably get some sort of new card alongside the announcement. So if you're looking to play some new stuff and have fun with a new card, November 1st at 10 a.m. Pacific might be the time to be around to do that. Now, if you're anything like me and you're always looking for some way to speculate and you're thinking like, what is this artwork? What does that mean? That doesn't look like Northrend or the Lich King or anything of that nature. It's not. It's just from Anonymous Informant. This is old artwork. Just a nice little invitation graphic they were able to use there. So don't spend too much time snowballing on what this graphic could mean. It's clearly just what they had around. Now, on top of that announcement, we've also got a tease here for Hallow's End. A lot of us were thinking this wasn't coming because we're past Halloween, but Hallow's End in World of Warcraft has a little bit of a different schedule. Anyway, it is coming with patch 24.6, and it says we go big this year with some fun new things and the return of some old fan favorites. So I think we're getting cards coming back into standard format, probably similar to the Doom in the Tomb event of old, or I think it was something like 18 cards came back into standard. This sounds a little bit like that. Some speculation that the Death Knight cards might be returning. Maybe we're going to get each of the Death Knights back in standard to, herald the welcoming of Death Knights in the expansion. I feel kind of bad just constantly setting this up because if it's not that, everybody's expectations are going to be so warped from all of this speculation. But that's at least a theory. Might just be some Halloween themed cards coming back. We did actually see a teaser on the Play Hearthstone Twitter account yesterday that listed a bunch of old cards, and I discussed this on stream. It didn't feel quite worthy of a video, but this post here about Bob's seasonal cider lists things like Witchwood Apple, Rotten Apple Bomb, Squashling, Splitting Fester Roots. These are old cards, and it might indicate we're getting like some Witchwood cards back, some Halloween themed cards for Hallow's End. It might be something like that instead of, say, Death Knights, for instance. But I'm assuming we'll find more about this on November 1st. It might be that they're holding the details here on this patch notes because they are related to the expansion in some way or another, and they don't want to give us too many clues or teasers. Might be another reason this is not getting more information now. All right, so next up here, we've got a new monetization thing in Battlegrounds called the Battle Bash. As you can see from this graphic here, basically you get to hit this hammer and get a random prize. And it sounds like there are actually just these 10 prizes. You spend $10 or 1,000 runestones, of course, the equivalent to $10. And you'll get a couple swings right away. Then you have to earn the rest of your swings with top 4 finishes during the Battle Bash period. It says here 22 days, but who knows? That could just be, you know, the middle of the period. I'm not sure how long that'll be. Maybe it's per patch, per, you know, Battleground cycle or expansion cycle. I guess stay tuned for additional details there. But there are a couple legendary items and non-legendary items. It says you will need 7 top 4 finishes to get all 10 prizes, because you get 2 right away. Everybody gets 1 free one. That's 3. And then I guess you need 7 top 4s to get the remaining 7 items. So it's not like extra items here are moving in. But on that note, do keep in mind, everybody gets 1 for free. So I guess if you want a free Battlegrounds cosmetic, be sure to go do this thing when it pops up on 24.6. All in all, I'm totally fine with them monetizing Battlegrounds with cosmetic stuff. Of course, that's the way we want monetization to happen in Hearthstone as much as possible. So, I don't know. It's pretty nice they built a cool new little system for this. So, not something I will personally utilize or care about, but seems fine. Now, this is a really cool update. I am not playing Mercenaries, and I can't really speak to the details of the execution here, but this appears to solve a few Mercenaries problems which have plagued the mode really since day one, and I think have been some of the biggest pain points I've heard people speak to in regards to Mercenaries. So really the idea here is that all task chains will be available at all times. Despite having done way too many of these when this released, I really can't remember how they're unlocked now, but I know that this solves a big problem. You could just keep moving through tasks as opposed to having to like find them, or I forget, I think the person had to show up at the campfire or something. I don't know, but this seems to solve that problem. Task progress will be determined by the mercs actively in your party. That means you can choose exactly which task chains you want to work on and win, and progress up to 6 at once. That all sounds like amazing reduction of friction in Mercenaries mode. Now, on top of that, this is really cool. They're introducing a renown system that will let players exchange excess coins for coins of mercs they own but haven't yet maxed. So right now, a lot of people are just sitting on these like giant hordes of coins they can't use because they've maxed out a character, because you get character specific coins. You got 1 million Rokara coins you can't use. Now you can exchange those for a different character, allowing you to actually get some value out of those excess coins. They've been teasing this feature for a while. People have been complaining about this a ton because it feels awful. It's just the worst system ever. So finally getting a change. Now, I don't know that this is going to be like a one-to-one exchange. That doesn't say that here that I can see. So I don't know how efficient this is going to feel. Probably it could be 100 to 1 and still be terrible, but at least it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully it's a nice exchange rate. I don't think it necessarily needs to be 1-to-1 to feel great, by the way. I think a little bit of efficiency loss would be totally fine for that system, but as long as you're able to get some value out of those coins, I think that's really the goal. So good changes for Mercenaries. And also finally here, we've got this great system, loaner decks for new and returning players. Starting with 24/6, new and returning players have an upgraded free deck experience. So normally right now, if you go away for, I guess it's what, 4 months, and then you come back, you get a free deck, and you just kind of have to pick one and hope for the best. Some people research ahead of time, of course. Other people don't. But now, instead of being immediately asked to choose a free deck to rejoin the ladder with, which can be a pretty high pressure situation when you right when you return to the game, they will be able to test 6 loaner decks for 1 week before selecting one to permanently add to their collection for free. And that's awesome. That's really nice, because it allows you to, number one, kind of like get back into the swing of the game without making a huge commitment. So you can, like, if you have a few classes, you know, you can just see what the meta is like, play different experiences. You get one aggro deck and one control deck maybe, and you get different vibes. You get a combo deck in there. You get to experience the breadth of Hearthstone, which is going to help you not only make that great decision, but just have a better time re-entering into the Hearthstone world, as opposed to picking a random deck that maybe you didn't vibe with or isn't particularly well suited to the meta at that moment. That can be a real issue. So really nice here to help ease people back into the game, reduce some of that friction when people return to Hearthstone, or of course start out for the first time as a new player. Now, I know sometimes as a current player, it can feel a little frustrating to see new and returning people get all this stuff for free. So I do wish they'd almost take this to another level where they had some sort of just always rotating selection of decks that people could play for free. Like, oh, this week you can play Mech Mage, and this week you can play Naga Priest. And people could experience these decks just for like a week at a time. There are some risks there, of course, with that, like overrunning the ladder with one particular deck because everybody got the same free deck, but perhaps it rotates independently per person, and there's always kind of a nice mix there so that people can try out different decks. It's your individual deck of the week, and somebody else might get a different one. I think stuff like that would go a long way. We see that in MOBAs very commonly, where there's like a free hero rotation. 5 or 10 heroes will be free this week, and people can try them out. Would be cool to see that at a Hearthstone level too. I don't know that individual cards would be very satisfactory in that case. I mean, maybe that would be a good start, but something like decks as well, if the technology is there, could be really nice too. So all that said, that's it for this patch preview. It's really more of a teaser that's saying like, hey, cool stuff is on the way, but still some nice updates, some cool stuff to see. I think some positive changes in a few different directions. So all in all, man, Tuesdays sounds like it's going to be a big day. I think we're going to have a new expansion. I think we're going to have some kind of bonus thing tied to the expansion, Death Knight or otherwise. I think we're going to get a new card added to the game is probably what happens. And we're going to get a Hallow's End event that sounds like it's going to bring back some old cards and new fun things. So all in all, Tuesday is going to be, I think, a banner day for Hearthstone. I'm excited, but also worried about how much stuff I have to do. It's always a little bit stressful and overwhelming trying to get like 7 videos out in one day somehow. But that said, stay tuned, share your thoughts on all this stuff. Thanks so much as always for watching, and until next time, game on.